What is the most prescribed drug? According to the National Institute of Health, the most prescribed drug in the United States was Lipitor, a medication used to lower cholesterol levels and prevent heart disease. All right, if you have never been here before, my name is Marie, and you can follow my journey clear back 14 years, my health journey, way before I became a naturopath, a detoxification specialist, a massage therapist, an herbalist, and all that other good stuff. If you ever want to find any of my creations, you can go to aplacetoheal.store. That's where I put all of my stuff. Anything that you want to find out about me is right there, and I always put my links underneath the videos. All right, so let's unpack this, because it's Friday. We got time to unpack stuff. So I was sitting there wondering, okay, so what am I going to talk about this Friday? What am I going to hit my audience with this Friday? And then all of a sudden I went to Walmart, and I was in and around the pharmacy, and I heard a man say to the lady, "Oh, I have to pick up my medication for high cholesterol." That's what I did. I was like, shut your mouth, walk away. Because I know how bad these medications can be. The side effects are insane. So I want to talk to you about cholesterol, okay? Because I've done a few little research here and there, and I've tested some things out, and I've come to learn a few things about cholesterol. Okay, so one of the first things I learned was a while back, I'm going to say about maybe 2 years ago, I decided to go on a carnivore diet. Okay, so I am a person, in case you don't know, if you haven't seen any of my videos, I am a person who donates blood every 3 months. Okay, I'm a menopausal woman, and it's what I do. You can go back and see those videos. So I do that because as we age, our blood, even for men, has a tendency to get thicker. It doesn't flow as well and everything. And donating blood is one of the best things that you can do for yourself. Years and years ago, there was bloodletting. It's no different, but this isn't that video. But why I am telling you that is because that every 3 months I go and get my blood checked. So they give you these small, kind of feedback, your blood pressure, your cholesterol, your, on and on. And you get this little health report. And if it's not so good, you go and talk to your doctor. If it's great, then you do nothing about it and you wait for 3 months and you donate again. So I started thinking, wait, this is a privilege right here. I can start testing a bunch of stuff that I wanted to test, and I can use myself as a guinea pig, as I usually do, because anybody that's followed me for any amount of time knows that I love testing theories out. I am a person, I will not introduce something, a supplement, in if I don't need it. And why would I remove stuff that I don't want to remove or that I love? Because they'll tell you, oh no, you need to remove this and you need to remove that in order to. So I'm going to check stuff out, and and I did the research, and I'm going to bring it to you. So I had very, very high cholesterol. I'm talking like 310. Okay, that was a normal cholesterol for me. I always felt like poop, and they always wanted to get me on these drugs. But if you go in and you check the side effects of these drugs, okay, this is just a few. Muscle pain, okay, you get aches, soreness, weakness in your muscles, gastrointestinal issues. It messes with your gut flora like crazy. It causes fatigue. It will cause liver issues. This is a synthetic medication, so your liver is not going to work as well, and statins can sometimes elevate liver enzymes, which we instantly already know your liver enzymes should never be elevated. It causes inflammation, and then it causes liver disease. High blood pressure, it causes kind of really messes with type 2 diabetes, memory problems. These things have really been associated with dementia. Skin reactions from, your liver behaving poorly. And I'm going to, sexual dysfunction. It lowers your testosterone. I can't say enough bad things about these drugs. So here's a little something I learned. Okay. Once upon a time, 250, 260 was normal cholesterol numbers. Those were perfectly acceptable. Okay. So all of a sudden these medications were started hitting the market, and all of a sudden they lowered the cholesterol numbers to go lower. Okay, so now they lowered the numbers so that they can prescribe it to more people. Okay, the same thing can be said about high blood pressure. I have people that till this day tell me normal blood pressure is 120 over 80. It is not. 120 over 60 is normal blood pressure. Once you hit 80, once that low number hits 80, your kidneys are in serious trouble. I mean, trust me on that one. I had kidney disease. That is not a good number. Okay. The same for airplane seats. Back in the 60s, back in the 70s, you traveled, airplane seats were this wide. Now they're this wide to accommodate. Same thing can be said with caskets. Anyone from a morgue can tell you caskets have been getting bigger and wider. Why? Because people have been getting bigger and wider. So these numbers have been manipulated in order for them to sell and prescribe these medications. But some of these medications are very lethal, and this is one of them. Okay, high cholesterol. So what is going on with high cholesterol? Okay, so bear with me and my experimental brain. A while back, I heard this is what higher cholesterol. This is what lowers cholesterol. This is what, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to go for that. Okay. So I heard a lot of people, it's, the carnivore diet. The carnivore diet is the best of the best. So I was like, okay, let me try that. Cause I'm not going to sit there and say, no, it's not going to work, or yes, it is the best, until I try it and what I see for my body. Now, I know there's people out here that are going to go, wait a minute, I did it. It worked for me. It was great. Awesome. You're not the audience I'm talking to. Okay, so I'm not here to argue with anyone. I'm just here to present the facts as I saw them coming out on paper. So I did the carnivore diet. I did it for 8 months. The first time I went in to have blood drawn, I noticed that my cholesterol had jumped 16 points, which was kind of scary for me because once upon a time it had been so high. But then all of a sudden, the next time that I went again, it had jumped another 9 points. Okay, so that's a lot of points in a 6-month period. So I was sitting there going, look, the only thing I've done different is carnivore. Okay, so I got off the carnivore diet. I went to a different diet. And the minute that I started getting rid of all those hardcore fats, and I'm not talking about low fat protein, because I am not vegan. I am not vegetarian. I was once upon a time. I am no longer that. So I started noticing it's not the chicken. It's not the turkey. It's not the salmon. It's not those healthy proteins that were causing my high cholesterol. Okay. It was the fats, the bacon, the red meats, all that. That's what was jacking up the cholesterol. So as soon as I cut all that and I said, nope, not touching that anymore. Not the ground beef. I switched over to 96% lean. And all of a sudden my cholesterol was like boop, 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 going down. Okay. As I did further research, I found out that some of my vegan friends, some of my vegetarian friends were even having issues with high cholesterol. Why? They don't eat meat. How is this happening? Because everything that they were using was, for ice cream, for whatever, everything was, they were using coconut oil, and coconut oil is very high in fats. They were eating a lot of nuts, which is very high in fats, which proved to me that even a good thing, too much of a good thing, is still too much. Okay, so we can't do that. Everything is within moderation. So the minute they started cutting back on these, very high fat foods, like, because they do all their sauces. I know I used to be vegan. Like I said, I used to be vegetarian. I know how it's done. All these smoothies, treats, ice creams, creams, cheeses, everything is done with nuts or coconut oil. And these are very, very, very high in fats. So that's why their cholesterols were so high. So I started noticing, okay, let me cut back on the fats. I'm going to use healthy fats. Let me cut back on even avocados. Okay, I was having 2 avocados a day. Let me cut back on the avocados. And 210. Okay, not a problem. And I had raised it up with the carnivore diet. I had raised it up there to 240. Okay, so I started really freaking out. I'm like, what if I can't get this back down? Or what's going on? Okay, now the problem with cholesterol is once you start raising cholesterol, you start getting this weird film on the top of your eyes. You're going to notice it, and it's almost like a cataracts, right? It's got that blue haze to it, and that film is constantly, it'll start going lower like a curtain. The higher the cholesterol, the lower the curtain. And then the next thing you know, you have that on your eyes. I noticed that starting to go away, go away, go away. Okay, same thing. So I changed my diet. I brought my fat levels down to a normal range. I started eating healthy fats. I stuck to chicken, I stuck to turkey, the lean fats, salmon. And my salmon, I was even very picky about that. Even my salmon, I would not buy fresh. I bought it vacuum sealed, frozen. So they caught it, they froze it, they vacuum sealed it, and that way I didn't have to worry about the parasites or the, it's grown in a lab or it's grown in a tank, or, the parasites exchange with each other. I didn't have to worry about all that. Okay, and you can get those salmon at Walmart in the freezer section. You can get it at Smith's, you can get it at Vaughn's, wherever. You do not have to order it online. I mean, you can. They have places like, I think it's like the Alaskan Seafood Company and stuff that does provide that, but you don't have to. But that is the easiest way to get fish where you're not have to worry about all the bones and the parasites. Okay, so I found that out. So I got my omegas. I kept my fat down. I really cut back to almost no coconut oil. If I did use oil, I only used avocado oil, and I used very little. I started using an air fryer. They now have glass air fryers, so you don't have to worry about the chemicals, all that stuff. So I really cut back on the fat. My nuts, same thing. Okay, I was eating a lot of pistachios, I was eating a lot of cashews, and I took those down also. Okay, so that all has to do with it. Another thing is the carb content. If you're eating a very, very, very high carb diet, okay, because that was my next one I went to, was the carb thing. If it is processed carbs, okay, if you're doing processed carbs, that is also going to raise your cholesterol levels. Okay, so they don't tell you all this. And all they want to do is they want to put you on the medications, but these medications, they say prevent heart disease. No, on the contrary, they make you very susceptible to heart disease and heart damage. Because what you're doing is you're still continuing the damage. Okay, I've said this a million times, and you'll hear me say it a million more. All disease is toxicity and deficiency. Okay, so they're not addressing the toxicity. They're not addressing the deficiency. All they're doing is, let's put a Band-Aid on it so you continue, making yourself toxic. So that's not the way it goes. All right, so number 2, recently I heard someone about a month ago, a little over a month ago, sit there and say, coffee, like I said, I don't like removing stuff from my diet if I don't have to. I don't like to introduce stuff into my diet if I don't have to. I'm happy in my little world. And one of the things that I still enjoy is coffee. I do not believe it causes adrenal fatigue. I don't believe in all the mold and stuff. If you get the organic, I don't buy into all that. I like my coffee. So I still drink a cup of it, 1 cup a day in the morning. Okay, there's been studies shown that coffee is actually can be very helpful for you. So I think if you support your adrenals, if you're interested, I sell adrenal repair. You can take that. Okay, you take an adrenal repair, you support your kidneys. Coffee ain't gonna touch you. Okay, it's not gonna affect you. So I heard from research saying that coffee will higher your cholesterol levels, and I was like, what? Are you for real? So here's what I did. Marie upped her coffee intake to 2 cups a day, every single day. And then I had my blood tested. No. So my cholesterol actually dropped 9 points from drinking 2 cups of coffee a day. So in my case, I'm not saying this could be in your case, but in my case, coffee did not affect my cholesterol. As a matter of fact, it helped it, if anything, so it lowered it. So you don't want cholesterol levels too low. With all that being said, I just want to say that you do need cholesterol for your brain. Okay, it is very important to have cholesterol. So it is very important to go have your levels checked, because if your levels are way too low, you want to bring them up into the 200 range. I'm going to say 200, 220, right around there, 230. Those are beautiful numbers. Okay, and I like to keep mine right around there. Okay, 200, 230, right around there. A little closer to 200, but I'm good with that. Okay, because I know that you need that cholesterol, that fat, in order for your brain to work properly. You bring those levels down with low-fat diets where you're not getting any fat and you're not getting any fat to your brain, you're gonna have issues, okay? So you don't want it too high, but you also don't want it too low, okay? Too high, yes. Too high is, you know those smoke alarms in your house? That's all that is, okay? It doesn't mean go out and get a prescription for a wet towel and cover it, okay, and let it keep beeping. It's telling you there's danger. We need to lower this down, okay, and that's all high cholesterol is. It's telling you cut back on your carbs. Processed carbs are too high. I'm not talking about natural carbs. I don't care the potatoes, sweet potatoes, and all the other carbs you want to get from that. That's fine, okay. I'm talking about the processed foods with the processed carbs, the tortillas, you know, all that stuff. You want to cut back on that, okay? All that processed junk, those going out to eat at McDonald's, you know, Burger King, Taco Bell, whatever, all that. They use all those rancid oils that are very high in fats, a lot of high carbs, you know, a lot of fats. It takes your fat way up there, and this is what is causing your high cholesterol. So if I could give you any advice, is please listen to the smoke alarm and fix the underlying issues, instead of going out there and getting on a prescription that's going to, how do I want to say that? It's going to continue to allow you to keep screwing up your body, okay? It's aiding and abetting you to do whatever you want. It's like, yeah, continue being toxic to yourself. Continue doing that. You know, instead of changing your diet and getting it more under control and controlling those numbers, you know, the way that they should be, okay? So now you know what causes high cholesterol. Go out there and fix it, okay? Stay happy. I'm gonna try to make you a little bit healthier, okay? And please be sure to tune in to me every Friday, 6 p.m. Standard Mountain Time. Next week, I have a really great video for you guys. Okay, I'm sure there's not a lot of people talking about it, but I'm going to bring it to you. And don't forget, every Friday at 7 o'clock Standard Mountain Time, we meet on TikTok, and we have TikTok talks, real talk about health. We discuss the stuff nobody else wants to discuss about. Okay, I don't care how much people come at me and say this woman is crazy, she doesn't know what she's talking about. Yeah, okay. We'll see you there. See you here, see you there, whichever you want, because I'm going to help get you healthy on either platform. It doesn't matter.